Hey, all right. I have no idea what I'm doing right now. Oh my goodness. This is crazy. Hey everybody, how you doing? I don't know whether you can hear my music or not. I don't know what's going on. This didn't work out well. So, all right. Hey everybody, how you doing? This is Mickey. Welcome to Mickey in the Middle, the quintessential show for Middle Americans where all Middle Americans are welcome. I cannot tell you how much I appreciate you being here. Don, please tell me whether you can hear me or not. Congratulations, you win the gold medal for being the first to make a comment. Oh my goodness, this has turned into a disaster. So I just started my OBS, which has got my music and my graphics, and then I fired up live stream and I hit go live, and then it cut out my OBS, and now I don't have these anymore. So we are here on live stream. No music, right? Hello again. Can you hear me though? Can you hear me? Yeah, when I move my lips, can you hear me? I can hear you. Hey, Don Ledger says you can hear me. That is awesome. Hey, welcome to Mickey in the Middle, the quintessential show for Middle Americans, where all Middle Americans are welcome. It doesn't matter where you've been. It just matters that you care about Middle America and that you are here with us tonight. So, thank you very much for being here. So, congratulations to Don for being a gold medal winner and Susie for being the silver medalist. There's a couple other people that are watching right now, but until they comment, I don't even know that they're here. So, let's go ahead and do the show, shall we? So, I wanted to talk tonight briefly. This is not gonna be a long show. I just got done with my duties as being the president of the Greystone Communities Property Owners Association. We just got out of that meeting, and I've been working hard all day on other projects. So, hey, Carolyn, how you doing? So I'm glad that you're here. So what I want to do is I want to talk about economics for a minute. I put a Facebook post out, and somebody responded back about economics, and I think that I said economists suck, and I meant it when I said economists suck. And the reason I say that economists suck is because of the theory that they have on economies now, and they go to school and they learn all these grandiose ideas. And then somebody pointed out to me that not all economists suck. And then I had to reevaluate what I said. And I said, you're right. Not all economists suck. So there's an old school economist, and there's a new school economist. And the way that works is old school economists believe in economies, and they do micro, they do macro, and they do economies in scale and how those things relate. And I would like to simply point out that economics is economics and business is business, and how those two interact is just the way that it is. Now, if you've watched this show for any amount of time, you understand that I do not believe in trickle down economics. There is no such thing as trickle down economics. And you can prove that to yourself by cruising outside and looking at your neighbor and see how they're trickling on you, right? If they have more money, supposedly they're trickling on you, and supposedly the people that have less money than you, you're trickling on them. And then this trickle down is somebody has a bunch, and then as a result of them having a bunch, some of that's going to overflow their bank and it's going to fall into your lap. And I'm not really sure how that works. And they use trickle down economics because the basic theory is that rich people have everything and poor people have nothing. And inside of that, the poor people lose dollar bills out of the buckets of money that they hold. And that's what kind of holds the economy together. But that's not true. Money is nothing more than a representation of what you have available in assets. And the way that I can explain this is, if you provide value to somebody, then you can exchange that value for something else. And a lot of people think about the barter system. I go a little bit beyond that because the whole idea is if there are 10 people and there's only one apple, then in a society, whoever has the ability to go get that apple now owns the apple. And some people say, well, you should split the apple up. Well, I don't know whether you should split the apple up or not, right? There's 10 people. But if I go out and I go get an apple and I bring an apple back and somebody goes, hey, man, I'll trade you something for that apple. And then somebody else goes, I'll trade you something else for that apple. I'll trade you more for that apple. And then a third person goes, I will trade you more for the apple. Who are you going to go with? You going to go to the first person that has less value for your apple? And that's kind of like what's happening in the United States of America right now. The government has funded all of these things, and they have given such a huge amount of money and poured a huge amount of money into our system. And that money is going to people, it's going to corporations, it's going to fund different things throughout the country. But the problem is we have too much money and not enough stuff. So whenever the oil supply gets shrunk, then all of a sudden people have to compete in order to get the oil. If there's a whole bunch of oil, then nobody has to worry about it because nobody's going to give a bunch for that oil. But if you only have one gallon of gasoline and everybody needs that gallon of gasoline in order to move their car or in order to stay warm, it's going to become a bidding war. And that's what the whole idea is behind supply side economics is somebody supplies something and then somebody provides value back for that thing. And this is a voluntary system. It's a voluntary system. And the amazing thing about this is there's a lot of people that are economists that say, oh, well, each individual on the planet will contribute X amount of value into the system. And because they are going to contribute into the system and provide this much of an economic boost to the system, we can leverage that labor and we can leverage that value into the future. And that's how you can borrow against it. And a great example of that is using your home, right? If you want to buy a home, let's say that the home costs $100,000. People don't have $100,000. So what they do is they go get a loan that says my value and my labor is going to eventually pay $100,000 worth of value so that I can give it to you so that you will build me a home. So the homeowner goes out and buys land and they cut a deal with whoever had the land previous. And all of this land was divided up a long time before we got here. Governments own 100% of the land, so they can give land or they can take land. They do it all the time. The federal government will go into Montana or California and they will go, hey, look here, we're going to take this land and we're going to make it a federal reserve. And they just take it. They just take the land. And they don't compensate states for that. They just say, hey, this is going to be a reserve. And they don't compensate the states, and they just take the land. So everything that's not owned in the United States of America is owned by the government. And then the government owns and has a say over all of the property that's here. So that if you and I have any land, that was handed down to us, or we provided value in order to get that land. That's what makes things more expensive. Is because if I paid $10,000 for a lot and somebody walks around and says, hey, I'll give you $12,000 for that lot, all of a sudden I go, hey, look here, I can make a little bit of a profit. So now I have $12,000 in my pocket instead of $10,000 worth of land. The problem is when everybody has $12,000 and all want the land, then somebody's going to go, I'll give you $12,001 for the land. And somebody else is going to give you $12,002 for the land. So everything is already owned. The question is how do you go and acquire things? And that's through normal economic processes. But you leverage your value into the future in order to buy a house. If you get a car loan, you're leveraging your value into the future in order to get that car loan. And you're guaranteeing that your labor and your value will eventually pay that back. And that's where banks come in, because banks aren't going to give you the money for free. Banks go, hey, look here, I'll charge you a 3% interest rate or a 6% interest rate or a 10% interest rate. But it depends on who the bank can give that money to. Do you think a bank wants to give you money and get a 2% return, or do you think that the bank would like to give it to somebody else who will give them a 4% return? So it's value for value. And when you start running out of things, all of a sudden people go, hey, I'm willing to pay a higher price for that commodity, or I'm willing to pay a higher price for that, whatever you happen to have. And it doesn't have anything to do with trickle-down economics. It just means that whoever does more of those transactions, whoever does larger transactions inside of a free trade society, that's what creates value over time and what creates generational wealth, which we all want. The problem is when the government gets involved and they start regulating that, and they go, before you sell a house, you got to have an inspection. What do you mean I got to have an inspection before I sell a house? How come I can't sell a house without an inspection? How come I can't sell a house without a termite thing? How come I can't, in all the termite inspections, all of the inspections, everything, that's only for the seller or it's only for the buyer to guarantee that they're getting the proper value in that. Right now, the government has gotten in the way of the oil companies. When Joe Biden came on board, he signed all these executive orders that said, hey, look here, you're not allowed to drill or explore offshore anymore. You're not allowed to drill or explore in Anwar. You're not allowed to drill and explore except on these leases, which may or may not have land. And we're going to add regulations, environmental regulations, petrochemical regulations. We're gonna do all of this to you. So what that did is that made everybody that's in the oil and gas industry just go, I'm tired of playing your game. I'm not going to play. And you can't force anybody to play. Because I would like to point out that the government doesn't do anything. The government doesn't build roads. The government hires companies to build roads. The government does not drill oil wells. The government does not build houses. They get contractors to do that, and they pay contractors to do that. Or regular old people and civilians decide that they would like to take advantage of somebody's private property. And they would go, hey, you've got a ranch out here. You've got 10 acres of land in Texas. Per private person who owns this land, would you mind if we drilled on your land? And what happens? The person goes, well, can I get a portion of the profits if you drill on my land? So I will lease you some land, and then I will let you drill on it if you give me a portion of the profits. But that's not happening on federal lands because the federal regulations, number one, are prohibited from going into Anwar. Number two, they are prohibited from drilling or exploring on or offshore unless they have the leases from the government. And the government's overregulated them. So why would anybody be in business if you're going to be overregulated? The oil companies got all the money they need. All they have to do is go out there and say, this is what we're getting it for. Will people pay that much money? And I want you to think about $1 of gas, a gallon of gas. If somebody is willing to pay you so that you can have a profit of 50 cents a gallon, let's just say 50 cents a gallon, then that means that there's a 55-gallon drum. 50 cents a gallon. What is 50 times 55?
The answer is 2,750.
So that is $27.50. That means that the oil companies, if they're paying 50, if they're making a profit of 50 cents per gallon, they sell millions and millions and millions of gallons. And if they're making 50 cents off of each gallon, that means that there's millions of people that are willing to enter into that thing. So yes, they're going to make large profits, but they're going to take that profit and they're supposed to sit on it. They can take it. They can build a house. They can buy an island. They can do anything, or they can go and explore and they can go and drill more wells. But then what happens? The population of the planet gets larger and larger and larger. And what happens? we have more need for oil and gas and coal and all these other things. So yes, if I'm making 50 cents a gallon and I charge for 1 gallon, that means I made 50 cents. But if I do 1 trillion gallons, that means I get $500 billion at the end of the day. And that's what these people don't understand. They're like, the greedy bastards are making too much of a profit. Well, would you rather them not make a profit? Because the government's not going to drill for oil. It's absolutely ludicrous and crazy, because the simple fact of the matter is, value for value, the government has dumped all of this money into our pocketbooks for the same amount of goods or less. Because what happened on the global market is supply chains got messed up. That means we're not having the same number of cars made. We're not having the same number of motorcycles, the same number of chairs, the same number of curio cabinets, the same number of lamps, the same number of chairs, the same number of anything. So that means that overall, there's less of everything in the world. But their solution is to pour money on it and give money to everybody. So what happens? You have fewer things and more dollars. What did they expect to happen? And then they're going, well, the trickle-down economy, man, is screwing everybody. No, it's not. It's just economics. No matter how hard I work, I'm not going to be able to produce more value. Even if you give me more money, my value is going to be the same. So if I'm working for $10 an hour and you give me $20 an hour, that just means that for an apple, instead of paying $1, I'm going to have to pay $2. So the economy is just the economy. If you would like to make it, go open up a store. If you would like to go get an education, if you would like this whole thing to be better, then you cannot expect the government to be able to come in and make it harder for businesses to be in business, harder for businesses to get consumer the products, and you can't make it harder, or you can't make it more expensive for the consumer. And the thing is that money supply that's given out by the government, the people get such a small share of that. So they did a $1.5 trillion bill, and the people, the individuals in the United States, aren't getting anything unless you're unemployed. And that portion of that $1.5 trillion is going to unemployment. And it's going to states. And it's going to COVID relief, whatever that means. Yes, that means that the federal government is going to give it to the states, or it's going to give it to large corporations. And then those corporations are going to now have all those dollars. What are they going to do with those dollars? I don't know. It's an absolute shame, and it's an absolute mess, because the economics is economics. Keynesian economics means that you're going to leverage value. Well, you can only produce so much value and so much jobs it's going to leverage. Even if I pour money on that fire, then you're just going to have more money, but the supply isn't going to get any bigger. I hope this makes sense. Don Ledger, and that's how we get inflation. Yes, Steve Hayes. Hey, welcome here. There's only 42 gallons in a barrel of oil. Really? I didn't know that. Why do they call it a 55-gallon drum? That's weird. All right. I thought it was 55 gallons. So, but I'll go with 42. Maybe oil takes up more volume than water. I don't know. So, the simple fact of the matter is oil by weight or by volume? I don't know what a gallon is. I don't know how much a gallon is. I think it's by volume, isn't it? A gallon of oil is the same as a gallon of water. I didn't know that, 42, but thank you very much. So, anyway, the big idea behind me talking about the economy is because the government does not understand how economics works. Right now, they're saying, hey, look here, we need to go electric and we need to go solar. The problem is there aren't enough solar panels, there aren't enough green energy sources to do what we need them to do. That's why the price of cars is going up. Because hybrid cars, electric cars, everybody's like, hey man, we got to go save the planet. So all of a sudden the price of those cars are going to start skyrocketing. because there's not going to be enough. But when people get them, they're not going to be able to charge them, because right now I just heard a news story earlier today that said that people in California, because of the current electricity climate out there, are asking to not plug in their electric cars at night. I don't know how many electric cars are in California, but I don't think it's that many. I know that they're number one in the United States of America. But here's what the deal is. If you can't plug in your electric car at night, how in the hell are you supposed to get to work tomorrow? That's what doesn't make sense to me. So when my wife was alive and my daughter was living here, that means that we're supposed to have 3 electrical cars. I plug in 3 electrical cars to my house. Now, my electricity bill for my cars is more than for my house. If everybody does that around here, now all of a sudden, how in the world is the grid supposed to keep up with everybody having an electric car? It's impossible, because we don't have the infrastructure. We don't have the coal, natural gas, nuclear, hydroelectric infrastructure to do right now. And the government keeps taking more and more of our money, but you see less and less results of that. Look at the interstate system. That's the only thing that really the government's supposed to be sending money on, and it's trashed. I-20 still not fixed. It was broken 20 years ago, and the federal government's done such a great job. I-20 is still broken. I-40, it's a little bit better, but by the time it gets to be great, they're going to have to start at the other end, because it's going to be total crap again. We're $31.5 trillion in debt. And you would think that if somebody went $31.5 trillion in debt, that we'd have a little bit better system set up. You think we'd be able to have a NASA program? You think that NASA would be okay? You think that the roads should be fixed? You think that the bridges should be fixed? You think that we should be able to control the border? You think that international relations should be good? How come if we spent $31.5 trillion, how come we don't already have a smart and electric grid? How come we don't already have a smart, secure hydroelectric system in the United States of America where everybody already has a charger in their house getting ready for this? You got to remember, we've been talking about this global warming thing for more than 20 years. And the government keeps blaming oil and gas. We've given them not only what we give them every year, but we've given them trillions of dollars above that, and we still have shit for services from the federal government. It's absolutely ludicrous and insane how much money these people have. The bill that they just passed had 2,000 pages of pork from special actions from different senators and congresspeople that went through. Out of $1.5 trillion, they called it the Ukraine relief bill. Only $14 billion went to Ukraine. Oh, by the way, I have no idea how the war is going. I don't even know whether Ukraine is still a thing. But the simple fact of the matter is, our government is inept. And they do not understand economics. And economists, they suck because they don't understand economics either. To them, it's all a chart. It's all a spreadsheet. And they go, oh, look at that. But they have no idea how to anticipate world events. They have no idea how to talk about actual production value of a human being. It's all theory to them. And the monetary policy where they can just go spend anything that they want, they can go print as much money as they want, is turning out to be a disaster. I don't even know what here you go. Let's go find out what the stock market did today. Hey, we finished on the green side. That's unusual. Tomorrow the markets are going to get absolutely shelled. So, oh, look at that. So the NASDAQ was up 53, Dow was up 59. So everything else was pretty much shelled though. Anyway, that's it for tonight. Thank you very much. I greatly appreciate everybody being here. Remember, this is Mickey in the Middle. 9 p.m. Central right here wherever I am. 9 p.m. Central right there wherever you are. Remember, embrace your middleness, America. We need you. Take care. Be good. Lots of love. Talk to you later. Bye-bye. Let's see if I can do this. Backgrounds, videos. Yeah, I got nothing.